Welcome back to Finnegan's Garage. Thank you for joining me once again, especially those of you that joined Team Party Pulley. That's right, dropped a new shirt. Want to see it? Here it is. It's awesome. I love this shirt. This shirt basically represents the latest incarnation of Blasphemi, which is straight axle gone, long travel trophy truck suspension in the front of this beast. And in this episode, this will be our second test session with the car before drag week. That's right, we're actually trying to be prepared this time, Tony Angelo and I. We have already tested the car once, found out what it liked, what it didn't, found out my 3-disc diaphragm clutch probably wasn't the right way to go for what we're doing. So after 8 years of running that Mantic clutch, we're finally replacing it with a slipper clutch. That's right, race car stuff. So in this episode, we'll head back to Tick Performance, put in a new throwout bearing, put in a new clutch, then Mooresville Dragway for our last test session, which is coming just a week before Hot Rod Drag Week 2024. Let's go. I'm having deja vu right now because I'm back in Mount Airy, North Carolina, home of Tick Performance, the place that rebuilt the transmission in Blasphemi after I broke it in half. Same place that we came here for a new throwout bearing. So today we are here at Matt Goen's house, his personal shop right down the street from Tick Performance, and he's going to show us a brand new spring-loaded throwout bearing that should fix all the issues which I was having, which essentially this was working most of the time, but I had to like pump the pedal a couple times to get it consistently working. So that's going to fix all these problems. All right, Matt, you want to explain it to us? What was going on with what I had and how is that going to fix it?
So if I push this down, you can see that it pushes itself back.
Spring-loaded.
It's spring-loaded. Okay. So the deal with hydraulics and clutches is that this bearing always needs to be touching the pressure plate fingers. You hear people talk about the term air gap. Yeah. There's no air gap. Okay. Because if there ever is an air gap, you have inconsistent clutch disengagement. Yeah. So the problem with the aftermarkets is, like, for example, let's just say that this thing's riding against the pressure plate fingers at that point. Mm-hmm. And let's say vibrations from driving, the fact that this thing has a blown Hemi is really susceptible to that. But let's just say that it does this and works itself back. Mm-hmm. What's keeping it against the fingers? Right. Nothing.
Yeah, so you'll have an air gap when you set it up, but the first time you touch the pedal, the gap goes away and it's always just lightly touching it.
Yep. And the air gap that you're actually seeing is going to be like if you push this thing down before it touches the base, that's the actual air gap that you're going to get. And what that is actually for is clutch disc wear. Right. As your clutch disc wear, this thing moves toward the base. Yep. So you've got to have some setup height, clearance is what I call it, to keep from this thing bottoming out and your clutch just starts slipping. Right. So essentially, the fact that the aftermarket ones don't have a spring-loaded mechanism, that keeps them from actually being engaged. So sometimes, if that thing's worked its way back, when you push the pedal, it's going to go as far as the master cylinder tells it to go. Let's just say that it's 300 thousandths. It's going to move 300 thousandths, but if it's got a 100 thousandths gap to close up, it's only going to disengage the clutch 200, which doesn't disengage the clutch.
So this is why when I'm sitting at a stoplight, sometimes after driving for a while, the first time I push the pedal in, it actually doesn't fully disengage the clutch. But if I get off and I do it again, then it does.
That's exactly
because it's pushed it up, it's up against it, but it didn't have enough travel based on how far it can move fluid. Okay.
Yeah, an easy way to think about it too is like, have you ever changed your brakes before? So if you've ever changed your brakes and you've used a pad or whatever, used a C-clamp to push the pistons back in the caliper, drop the new pads in and put it on, you know the first 2 or 3 times you push the brake pedal, you don't have brakes. Yeah. It's the same scenario. That has to make up a distance that's now in there, and it can't make it all up in one stroke. Yeah. So the reason that the OE release bearing is spring-loaded is to eliminate that from being a problem.
It always works. Yep. Your clutch pedal feel and the amount of travel, everything is the same every time you push it. Exactly. Because it's always up against the fingers of the diaphragm. Okay, all right. Yep.
So, and then too, the next problem, you know, you talk about, I just said the OE bearing has a spring-loaded mechanism and it works great. That's the whole point of it. But the problem with those are that they're cast, they're cheap, they're mass-produced. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're not perfectly on center because of that. They have plastic components inside of them. They're thin, they're prone to failure in extreme conditions, you know, conditions like this. Even some street cars I've seen, like completely stock cars where they've just put a new release bearing in it and they'll actually crack them around the base. Wow. Just because of the type of clutch they're in and the type of driving that they do.
Okay, so Tick already builds badass 6-speeds. You already sell hydraulic systems. You are now in the throwout bearing business. I love it. So now people can call you and get a 6-speed that'll live, a throwout bearing that'll work every time, you know, all the good stuff. And we're back again because after our last test session with Blasphemi, we realized that with our 3-disc diaphragm clutch, the tuning window between spinning the tires as soon as you let the clutch out, or bogging the motor and dead hooking the tires and going really slow, well, it was about that wide. That was the tuning window. And I'll explain it with numbers. During the whole shot, if I take 20 degrees of ignition timing advance out of the Hemi, it will launch slowly, stick the tire, dead hook it, and take off. If I only pull 19 degrees of advance out and let the clutch out, it just blows the tires off, spins them, and the car wants to, you know, drive out of control. So finally, after resisting this idea for many years, we are going to switch from a diaphragm clutch to a slipper clutch that is fully adjustable. And what that meant was coming back to tick, changing our throwout bearing again because it requires a different one and a spacer, and they have a lift, so we're gonna install it here today. But first, we gotta get our transmission, because not only are we putting a slipper clutch in, we're adding a shaft speed sensor to our transmission so that we can look at engine RPM, RPM after the clutch to the input shaft of the transmission, and then drive shaft RPM. And so we can look at all those numbers and go, is the clutch slipping? Is it not slipping? Is it slipping too much? Is it not slipping enough? Data, data, I love data. So we're gonna grab our transmission, we're gonna go back to Matt Goen's personal shop and put in our new clutch and our new transmission. Let's go. All right, here's our gearbox. This has already been gone through by tick before, because if you remember, we broke it in half. And since then, we have tested it twice. We've put about 60 to 80 passes on it between 2 different drag and drive events, some street miles. We're back because we wanted to know, is our clutch slipping and when is it slipping? So we changed from the old front cover to a new one, which has tick's input shaft speed sensor built into it. While it was apart, they went through the whole trans and looked at it and gave it a clean bill of health. A couple of the, you call them dogs? Yeah. A couple of the dogs were a little chunked, but not bad enough to replace. But overall, it's in great shape. And so now we're gonna go back and stab this in the car because we have changed clutches already. We took out our 3-disc diaphragm Mantic clutch, which has been a great street strip clutch for a lot of years. But we're now to the point where we seem to be hot lapping the car a lot. And that clutch, when you hot lap it, is not the most predictable thing in the world, and it's hard to tune the whole shot when the clutch gets really, really hot. So we're switching to a slipper style clutch, which doesn't mean I can hot lap the car any better, but what it might mean is that the whole shot improves to the point where I don't have to hot lap the car. Like maybe I just let the clutch out and it just works, you know? We don't just throw all 1,300 foot-pounds of torque at this thing, you know, basically direct drive. Is there anything else about this I need to know that you guys changed between that version and this version here?
No, the biggest thing to know is the fact that it has that speed sensor location, and that now you'll be able to read input shaft speed, so you'll know a percentage of clutch slip that you have.
Yeah. The other reason I wanted to talk to people about this was it wasn't as simple as bolting this on, because when this transmission got built, the input shaft, or is it the counter shaft?
Counter shaft.
The counter shaft was missing one feature that is usually there.
Yeah.
What was that?
So on a Magnum style or a 6060, Magnum F, T56 Magnum, those transmissions are pre-cut from Tremec with a slot and a pilot hole, and that's originally intended to drive a pump. So the OE TR6060, like you'd find in a Camaro or a Challenger, has a mechanical pump on it that it uses for a cooling circuit, basically.
Okay.
So the 6060 stuff already has that, and all of the gear sets that we get, whether it be from PPG or G-Force, they make those that way for us, because they know that we're either going to put a mechanical pump with this plate or a speed sensor, because you can bolt that off and bolt a mechanical pump right on.
Okay.
The problem with yours was that it didn't have that, I guess because it was built before a time when we were requesting that from G-Force.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's standard on all of G-Force's 6060 stuff now.
Okay.
And you can do it to all their T56 stuff as well.
So basically, instead of just slapping on the new front plate, the trans had to come completely apart.
Yeah.
that counter shaft had to come out. You somehow had to, in the hardened shaft, machine a groove in it, then slap it all back together. Because the way this works is I guess it's a magnetic pickup, right?
Yeah, so it's a magnetic sensor, just a ferrous pickup, or ferrous tooth pickup. And it has a, I'm gonna call it a drive puck.
Okay.
Because it's like a flat, and it just engages into a groove, kind of like a flathead screwdriver.
Okay.
And that's what actually spins the reluctor gear inside of that housing. It's got 2 bearings, a bearing on either side, and it just spins inside of that housing.
So as this is turning, this will send a signal to the Holley ECU and tell us the speed at which that is rotating.
Correct.
And then we can compare the speed at which this is rotating to the speed at which the crankshaft is rotating. And then we also have a drive shaft speed sensor. So we'll know, are they all the same? Is everything operating at the same speed? Great, nothing's slipping, not the tires, not the clutch. Pretty cool. I'm a nerd, I like data. So, all right, so we'll go back to Matt's place, throw this in, and then tomorrow back to Mooresville Dragway to test a brand new clutch in Blasphemi. Which, by the way, there's only a week before drag week, so this is not last minute at all. And we are testing, we're not just showing up doing this at drag week, so we're better than we used to be.
Improvements.
Yes, they're small, but we're making them. All right, okay, so this is already out. This is our 3-disc Mantic diaphragm style clutch. This has been in the car, God, 8 years at this point. It's been rebuilt twice. Currently has about 2,000 street miles on it and 100 drag strip passes. And I'm just gonna give you guys a quick look at what it is. There are floater discs right here, clutch discs, and then these drive blocks. These clutch discs, you're gonna notice, come from the same company. I think it's called Ace. Same stuff as what is in the car now. The interesting thing about this deal is this is a 3-disc clutch with sintered iron discs. Our new one is only a single disc clutch. It is larger in diameter. The material I think is similar, but I'm not entirely sure. But the manner in which it applies clamping pressure is wildly different. This can get rebuilt and saved. There's actually nothing wrong with it, but this doesn't provide enough slip at the starting line to launch the car with a ton of power consistently. And that's kind of what we're looking for here. And unfortunately, it's a week before drag week when I'm making this change. We're only gonna get maybe 1 or 2 track tests, but it should be enough to get this thing dialed in. So let's go into the car. We'll show you the new clutch inside the bell housing, and then Matt will explain how the thing works.
A normal diaphragm clutch like you have, first thing you'll notice is that the levers themselves look different.
Right.
In the case of yours, you have a 6-lever setup here. A lot of times you'll see them, they'll have 3, 6, top fuel cars will have 12, 9, 12, things like that. But basically each one of these levers has the ability to add counterweight to them, and the weight on the lever itself applies more clamping load with RPM versus a normal diaphragm clutch where the diaphragm itself has all the pressure all the time. That's why they lock up so quick, and that's why they're used on the street. This one is actually intended to slip. You can adjust the base pressure with these screws as they go around the perimeter. They're actually numbered, you can see them. But that'll adjust the base pressure that the clutch actually has as far as holding force at a lower RPM. You know, that's where you're gonna see that at.
Okay.
And
then as the engine accelerates, the clamping load changes on those fingers. And that's the difference, is the diaphragm clutch, once you release the pedal and the bearing comes away from the fingers and the diaphragm, the clamping load is the clamping load.
Yep.
And it doesn't change.
Yeah, it never changes, it's always the same. So it's always really high. That's why it's always such a shock on the drive line, because it's always that high clamping force all the time.
Right. So with this one, we can tailor the clamping load for the whole shot, not break the transmission in half.
Yep.
Not blow the tires off, and then we can tailor the clamping load at higher RPM down track in every gear to mitigate tire spin and, you know, the craziness that happens when you shift this thing. Because a lot of what I've experienced lately with this car is at the top of first gear, when you go for second, the tires break loose. The top of third gear, when you go to put it in fourth, this thing will spin the tires. And a lot of that was chassis issues that we've solved with the new front end, I think. But the way the force was applied also didn't help either.
Yeah.
So this should be good. And if you're wondering, I bought it from a company called Black Magic. Like I said, the discs look like they came from the same company, Ace, whatever that is. I don't know anything about Ace. But all of the trickery and the billet machining and the adjustability, that's from a company called Black Magic, and apparently they dyno these things somehow. I have no idea how, but they dyno them. And they gave us some base settings, which I believe is 90 grams of weight on all the levers total. So there's 6 levers.
15 grams per lever.
15 grams per lever. And then how many times do we turn the?
Base turn of 3 rounds.
3 rounds.
And they sent a sheet with it so they'll know how much pressure that actually is.
Okay.
When with the ring height set where it's at.
And then tomorrow we go to the track and let the clutch out and see what happens. And if it blows the tires off, we have options, not just, hey, launch RPM up and down or more timing, less timing. We now can adjust our clutch, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So the goal here is to send more power through this, not cut its balls off by pulling 20 degrees of timing at the starting line anymore. Okay, so I guess we need to bolt the weight on and then adjust the Allens for the base pressure, and then we can put the trans back in.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. All right, so Black Magic sells these hardware kits of bolts and nuts and washers, both in, this looks like grade 8 to me, and aluminum. And a combination of this yields the weight you're looking for. And there's 6 levers, you want to do it evenly. So all of these together, 6 bolts, 6 nuts, 12 washers, ended up at
94.
It was 94 grams.
It's nothing now. Should I take it all off?
Probably.
Do it again?
I might actually do it now. No, it's going to have to re-zero.
When you started it.
I want to see how much, like, I wonder what an aluminum bolt nut and one of these Mallory weights would be.
Well, that's what I want to do, is every column, I want to write what each one is, so that if you're battering your scale dies, you can go, well, this is what this weighs, and we can put this on and not rely on the scale completely.
That's a good idea. The counterweights are kind of what's going to control the clamping force at high RPM as you're making more power going down the track with the tire hooked up solid. And the base pressure is more on the launch side. They both have their place in both instances, but your base pressure is more used. It's more used for tuning the launch itself, like how hard it actually grabs when you first dump the clutch. Problem.
These don't get Loctite, which surprises me. What a no lock washer? What do we torque these to?
Well, being it's a 1/4 inch, you torque it to
24.
I think 12 is the actual setting.
12
for a 1/4 inch. Oh, that's good. All right. That's good. Whoa, go back a little bit. Yep, so we got to make sure we get a full turn, and kind of want to simulate this as if we were doing it through this opening to kind of see. I mean, it looks to me like if you put that about right here, then you'll be able to turn it a 1/4, pull it out, get a 1/4 of a turn, and know that you're doing a 1/4 of a turn when the transmission's installed. So that's probably the route I would go. Doing this at the track, I can adjust it from right here for now if we want to, but if you wanted to try one like that,
Right, you're right.
try it like this.
Where was it set from the factory?
It's a 0.
So it was all the way in?
Yeah, so let me show you that real quick. I can get to this one. So right now, if I try to turn it to the right, it just kind of breaks loose and free spins. And then you can feel right there where it's got resistance. I can't turn it any further because now I've actually got to crank some force into it.
Oh, so when you turn it to the right,
yeah, you can feel it right there.
If it's loose, that doesn't count as a turn.
Correct. No, if it's loose, that means it's too far.
Okay, so there's the end of the play. It won't go any further. So then,
that's tightening it up.
So that's right there is where you start.
So this is all the way in, nothing. This is where I start counting the turn?
Yeah.
The resistance?
So, yeah, right there at that resistance point.
Okay, so when I get all the way around to here, that's 1.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and you can go a total of 7, but the instructions say never go over 6.5, because if you go too far, it actually comes apart inside and you have to pull the transmission, the clutch, and put it back together. That would suck.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that
sound fun.
And that was number
4.
4. So we started with number 4.
Okay, so number 4 is done. There's number 5. All right, that's all the way in. That's where the tension is. So this is our end spot. All right, so we've done 4 and 5.
All right.
3. All right. 4, 5, and 6 are done. 3. Okay. Here goes number 2. 1, 2, 3. All right.
She's ready to rock.
Yep, we did 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Trans can go in.
Just to trim the miller.
Start going.
There you go, up. Way up.
All right, here's the deal. About to make our first pass, but obviously we've changed a lot of things. We have changed our throwout bearing. We have changed from a Mantic 3-disc diaphragm clutched to a single disc Black Magic slipper clutch. We've also changed our clutch master cylinder to a larger bore one to move more fluid, because with our new clutch and throwout bearing, the bearing has to have a gap where the bearing is never sitting up against the levers of the clutch when it's disengaged. So we have more gap than we've ever had, and the larger diameter master cylinder moves more fluid so that when you start stroking the clutch pedal, the first inch of it is just moving the bearing to the fingers, and then it's on the fingers and gets firm, and you can feel it right there. Well, that changed how much throw we needed in our pedal, which means our clutch pedal switch, which is what turns on our 2-step, our timing retard, tells the Holley Dominator ECU everything that's going on during the launch of the car. That has to be adjusted. So what I'm going to do right now is turn the car on, roll it forward and back, look at the light, and figure out when is the light on my dash going out, indicating the clutch pedal switch turned off, in relation to when do I feel the clutch grabbing and the car moving. So that's our next thing. So we'll start the car up, and then I'll try not to run over anything. Is anything in front of me? Okay. Okay, yeah, it needs to come up the column a bunch because, or I forget which direction it's got to go, but basically the pedal's coming out probably an inch before the clutch starts grabbing. The light went out way before that. So we need to adjust it. All right, folks at home, here's what's happening. Here's my clutch pedal. This says clutch switch and 2-step, okay? So when you put the clutch switch in, it activates those 2 lights and lets you know when you release the clutch. It sends a signal, a ground signal, from the clutch switch to the ECU, letting it know what to do and when to do it. Well, down here we have the pedal. That little arm hits that little arm on the switch. The arm on the switch is adjustable. The mount for the switch slides up and down the steering column. Long term, I'll change this so that it has a bolt that you can thread the bolt in and out, but for now, this will just have to do. So right now, Joe is going to loosen up the mount on the switch and slide it up the steering column.
And by long term doing that, you mean probably never?
Semi-permanent. It's temporary permanent. The clutch pedal grabs probably halfway in the travel as you come off the firewall.
Well, what I kind of wanted you to do was I wanted to sit here and watch this as you did it, and you tell me, okay, here's where it's grabbing.
Well, I'm watching the light.
I know, but I can't tell.
As I'm
but we're not watching where it's at down here.
You want to lay on the floor while I start the car? I'm down. Doesn't have to be awkward, you know, real quick.
Yeah.
You know, just don't tell nobody. I hate let's do this.
Check that though. That moved it quite a bit.
All right, let's try that. Okay. Doesn't sound good. It don't sound good. It sounds like it's misfiring.
Yeah.
It did this when Tony drove it.
The switch, your two-step's not on, right?
Oh, two-step was on. Would that do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me try that again.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Still don't sound right. Yeah, it still don't sound right.
Yeah, this is what it did when Tony was driving it.
Tony broke it. I blame Tony.
Are we blaming Tony?
We're blaming Tony.
I mean, he's not here.
Because it ran great when you drove it.
It ran great when I drove it. We put Tony behind the wheel and it immediately started misfiring.
Yeah.
Oh, yep. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That should be in there.
Yeah, this is supposed to be in there doing stuff.
All the time. Right. Should be going up and down and... Yeah. All right. So, you guys just saw me attempt to do a burnout. This is our second test session with the car. Drag week is 1 week away. Well, a week ago, Tony Angelo was here. And I made some rips in this. And they were pretty decent rips. And then we put Tony behind the wheel. And then it just started misfiring. And I gotta be honest, I think you might have questioned his ability to do a burnout, Joe, but I think he was doing the best that he could given that a push rod fell out of the motor.
It wasn't the question of whether he could do a burnout. I was questioning whether his foot went all the way to the floor.
Oh, you were questioning, okay. All right, well, I'm not gonna go there. But, so what had happened was, and Pete found this, Joe found the push rod laying in there, Pete found the adjuster broke off our rocker arm, and so the cup part. Is it a ball? It's a ball.
Yeah, the Hemis have a ball and then a cup in the push rod, so they're kind of backwards from your standard LS or Ford stuff or whatever.
Yeah, that should be together.
Yeah, there should be a ball on the end of that fits in there.
But instead it's playing ping pong somewhere in the motor.
Right, the ball has ejected itself.
Yeah. So we're gonna pull the other valve cover off, see if we got anything going on there. Luckily, Pete ordered me spare rockers, spare push rods, and this is an issue we've actually never had with this motor. We have, with the old Hemi, we have dropped valves, we have had valve seats fall out, we have had push rods break, we've had issues. But ever since Pete came aboard and started building this, we have not had this issue. And what I realized during the last test session was we had put 100 passes on it and 2,000 miles without pulling the valve covers off. So it's possible that maybe there was some lash in there that didn't need to be there, and that's why it broke, which would be on me.
I'm still blaming Tony. It was the first burnout. Wing, 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 wing. That's what did it. Because after that, it wouldn't work no more.
I love Tony. I won't do that. But if you guys want to do that, you guys go right ahead.
Well, you know the internet's all going to blame Tony. They always said he broke the car.
I don't believe Tony broke the car. I believe he was driving in it when it broke. Draw your own conclusions.
All right, let's fix this thing.
Do I have a magnet? CD pieces?
I don't see anything. The push rod looks perfect. So.
Oh, we have spare parts. I'll get them. And then we'll pull the other side just in case. I meant to pull the valve covers that day. That's always my go-to when a misfire happens, but it was so hot. And it was the end of the day. I'm like, just get Tony in the car. Just put Tony in the car. It's going to be fine.
He doesn't need all 8 holes either.
He didn't. You know what he said to me? Dude, he pulls so hard. I'm like, not from where I was standing, and it sounded awful, but okay, as long as you're happy. Like if you watch this YouTube episode, it sounds horrible.
Right.
Absolutely horrible. All right, everybody. we have spares. And these have been in a bag for years. Haven't needed them. But that matches that. And that has a fresh adjuster. That's in one piece. Unlike this adjuster, which is now 2 pieces and missing that piece. So we'll just take this out of that, put it in that, put it back together. Joe got the other valve cover off, says the other ones all seem to be in one piece, so we'll check valve lash on everything, and maybe that's the smoking gun. Maybe if we find a bunch of excessive lash everywhere, we know. Or maybe this thing just failed. Who knows? We're not worried about that. Yeah, I think this was probably my issue of not checking the valve lash soon enough.
Maybe. Rev limiters, high side rev limiters.
It's hard on stuff.
They can cause things.
Yeah, and she's no longer geared, not that she was ever geared for 1/8 of a mile, but she's no longer geared for 1/8 of a mile because essentially what happens is at the top of 3rd gear, you're at 7,500 RPM, 200 or more feet before you hit the timing traps at the 8th mile mark at Mooresville Dragway. And so when you shift into 4th, you lose a bunch of ET, so you run it out in 3rd, banging on the rev limiter, which we did several times before Tony ever got in the car. You guys at home, if you have access to the internet, you know, outside of the fact that you're watching a YouTube video, when you get a moment, I interviewed Warren Johnson once for Hot Rod Magazine a long time ago. And it was a really fun interview. I learned a lot. And one of the things he said to me is the worst thing you can ever do to an engine is put it on the rev limiter, which we all do. Oh, Pizza Dude's here. Yes. We'll be back later.
Yeah.
We'll be back later.
You got a secret to putting these valve covers on with the gaskets? Because they're a pain in the butt.
It is. Here, let me, first things first, take all the spark plugs tubes out.
Okay.
Because those just make it way more difficult. And just set them up there on top of the Delta PAG radiator, which doubles as a table quite well. All right, take all your bolts out, because those will just get in your way.
Well, I tried to use them to hold it in place. It didn't work out so well for me.
Yeah, you're limited on space, so you got to be able to hover the valve cover. Here, you want to take this and I'll do it?
Sure.
Can you, with studs help?
No, because it's got no room to go up over here, unfortunately. Yep. All right, so once we've done that, we'll shove the valve cover gasket up. And then, one by one, we'll just start putting bolts in. Much better. It likes to run on 8, not 7. Woo-hoo-hoo! Oh, that was my first across the starting line burnout. That was awesome! I don't even know what to say. It was such a strange sensation with it leaving the starting line. It was so smooth that
Did that scare you a little bit?
It was so smooth and so different that I lifted in first.
It left great, dude.
I was like,
it was great.
I was like, this is weird. It doesn't feel normal, so I lifted.
So good.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't lifted because I think it was fine. That's the coolest burnout I've ever done. I've never.
Your trailer burnout was pretty badass.
I've never done one across the starting line. I've never gone as far as I've gone.
Well,
it was weird. It's never felt like that. It was so smooth that I was like, is the motor laying over? So I lifted it like 6,000 RPM. And then I was like, put it in second. And I was like, no, just stop and back up. What did that look like?
Looked good.
That's how it's supposed to go?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it looked amazing.
Oh, and the other reason I lifted in second is I can't be sure, but I'm like, is the clutch slipping as I'm rolling in the power in second? I don't know. We need to go.
Maybe.
We need to go again.
Probably.
I don't know.
It probably was, which is okay.
Lifted about 30 foot, still went 141.
I lifted before the 60 foot and it went,
Yeah.
and it went 141.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you were out of it almost instantly. It left and you went, oh, well, no, what's wrong here?
Yeah. It's like, I was so surprised. Well, we'll try that again. I won't lift this time, I promise.
All right.
Oh, that's the other thing about this throttle now is it's, I think it's going slightly over center because the very end of it is hard to get to 100% because it's, yeah, it's right. It's close enough. I don't know. The very end of it, to get to 100%, it gets firm right at the end.
It pulled you off the throttle almost immediately and went to like half throttle, and you're pretty much after that you're tailing off. So
okay.
we just need to do that again and just
leave it alone and go again. All right. Don't lift. Got it.
It looks like it's kind of grabbing about 6,200. That's with timing ripped out, you know.
Right.
I'd rather let's complete that.
Yeah.
And see what that is.
Okay.
So does it seem like the launch control is, all the launch retard stuff is working properly now?
Yeah, and now, I mean.
Yeah, now is it happening
last week?
Happening when it's supposed to be happening?
It's, you know, obviously it's grabbing. Let's look and see kind of where the drive shaft moves here.
Oh,
The drive shaft's immediately moving, like it should be. And it starts to grab a little bit right there, tug the motor. You know, we need some stuff to compare it to.
Yeah.
But that looks much gooder.
Cool.
Yeah.
141 off the gas. All right. Our best before was a 136 on the gas. Better. It feels like it's slipping the clutch. Not so much when it leaves the starting line, but at the top of first and into second. So I aborted the run. Oh, so car's not fast enough, clearly, because we've added electric turbochargers to our supercharger. That's the move. 2024, this is what everyone's gonna want. Blowers on top of blowers on top of blowers. No parasitic drag except for the electrical system. How can that go wrong? I don't see a reason. Other changes we made. We added 6 grams of weight to our counter levers on our slipper clutch, trying to increase the clamping force as the engine revs, because as the engine was revving, it was slipping the clutch at high RPM. So we did that. I think we're ready to go. You know, maybe we'll just leave the front end off for this one and some zip ties for this. Secure this right here. And you should get all your zip ties at wirecare.com. It's very smooth. Short on oil pressure now.
Really?
I don't know, but it's got like 13 and it doesn't really want to move. I told you I wasn't going to lift. That might officially be the biggest wheelie this car's ever done. Holy cow. I was like, don't lift, it'll stop, and it got all the way up and I'm like, it's not stopping. So I did lift a little.
From one extreme to the other, huh?
It feels like it bent something.
Well, it definitely touched on this side.
Oh, yeah, it touched.
Nothing looks bent.
Right there's the.
Oh, it's got a scoop of rubber on this side here.
What hit the ground here?
That's cross member.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it just kept carrying.
Just
Look at that, dude.
Just kept going, dude. What was that on the back tires?
36 on the back tire.
Oh my God, dude.
Oh.
Yeah. That was
That's better than the whole last test session on the back tires. So we tripped the beams at the beginning with the front tires and then tripped the 60-foot beam with the back tires, which is, I don't know, what is that, 10 feet?
Yep.
Damn. Except it was a really big wheelie and I didn't want to lift. And it wasn't until I saw clouds, like straight up clouds, I was like, oh. I lifted just a little bit and it went boom. Because it was, it was gonna keep going. Like, I had to stop. It was going. It's not coming down on its own. And I don't know what happened, but we don't have any oil pressure. When I was backing the car up, it was 13.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah. So I don't know what that's all about.
Take a look.
We need to see what we bent because it hit hard enough that it took chunks out of the track with the cross member on the car. I'm hoping the wheels are still round because I just got these. And it's kind of hard to find old-ass Holobrandts.
I think this was the last set, too.
This is the last set Don Waldron had. Wow. Yeah, that was our best PB the entire last test session. And we just
did it on the back tires.
On the back tires.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
It left normal, like it normally does, you know, with a little bit of tire up in the air.
Yeah.
And then it just kept climbing, dude.
Yeah.
It didn't come down.
Well, that, the one before it left and it felt like it was slipping, so I lifted at 6,000. This one, I was just like, I told the guys I would not lift, so it just kept going and going and going and going, and I was like, oh my God, I'm about to put it on the roof. Or I'm about to drag the fuel cell or something. I don't know, it was gonna be bad, so.
That was huge.
I'm stoked on it. Like, the car is working, bro. Like, that clutch, night and day difference between that one and the diaphragm one. The diaphragm one used to just shock everything in the drivetrain and the car would get so upset.
It was so violent.
It was so violent. This just is like, brrr, but we got no wheelie
Maybe she would
bars.
take that 6 grams back off.
Yeah, maybe. Because to be honest, when we put 6 grams on it, we'd only made 2 hits.
Yeah.
And so the clutch is going to get better as it's broken in.
Yeah.
So maybe the 6 grams was.
All right, let me get this thing in the air and inspect. Here we go. This is, where we did touchdown. There is a whole bunch of Mooresville rubber stuck to the bottom of this cross member here. Hang it like that. But this is where we scraped. Wasn't that bad. Here you go. Here's some rubber for you.
Is this racetrack?
That's racetrack.
Is that on the cross member?
Yes, it was on the cross member, both sides.
I kind of want to make a keychain or a necklace out of this and just hang it. Never mind, it looks like a ball. I'm not going to hang out for my neck. That'd be weird. But you could play with this.
Big, you didn't have to spend all that time this morning scraping the track. You just get Mike out there to do it.
Sorry about your racetrack. Sorry about that. Wow. 6 ounces just was a huge difference. Like, and it was another lap on the clutch, but.
Right.
And I still, at 6,000 RPM, I was still getting out of it. And it just kept going and going and going. I didn't get out of it totally till like 73, which is where I normally shift. But apparently as it was going up, I was coming off the throttle a little bit. I wasn't even wide open.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
So right when that happens, like all that time it's coming back in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you're coming off. It's going, nope, more timing, let's go.
Yeah, it's coming up, my foot's coming back, and then it's throwing timing in it.
Right.
It still has 14 pounds of boost. And
oh, God.
you can see it in the video where, like, it's going, and then all of a sudden it's like it hits another gear in first
it
gear.
just starts taking off.
Keeps going. It's wild. Absolutely wild.
All right, so I'm going to cool the clutch down, put fans on, put the turbos back on the blower, and
we can tighten the rebound, I guess.
Yes.
In the front end, and maybe then it won't.
You want to try that and still leave the weight on it?
Yeah, because I have a feeling the clutch is just going to keep getting better, and if I can manage to keep my foot down. Let's try it again.
If you can manage to keep the nose down.
Yeah, that would be nice. Well, everybody, just did a monster wheelie, and we're hoping to not do that again. So what we've done is added some more clicks of rebound in the front shocks to slow the front end from traveling so much. And hopefully That combined with more wheel speed, which we're gonna gain from launching at a higher RPM, with any luck, that keeps that from wheeling again.
As you can see, this is where we left. Car looked good. Looks like it's got a little teeny bit of tire shake on there, but it drove right out of it. It did really good. It's probably gonna be our best data yet today.
Oh man, I don't know what the numbers were, but it felt so good. That thing just boned out. And it shifted good and it went straight and just, oh, this car is so happy right now. I can't wait to find out what the ET was. That was awesome.
All right, tell me.
It's getting fun again.
Tell me.
Absolutely getting fun again.
I'm out of breath. Tell me what's going on.
Sorry you had to run up that hill. First, shout out to Joe Cole, Matt Goins, Peter Harrell, Eric Yost. This is a new car. Yeah. A new car. Like, it's so easy to drive. I don't think I steered it at all. And it just went 128.01. And it went a 562 at a $125. Not its fastest eighth ever.
It was on the rev limiter, like way before the finish line,
yeah,
dude.
Yeah. Dude, it's so easy to drive now.
Yeah, nice.
I could not be happier. I don't think we're ready for drag week, but we're damn close.
Yeah, it looked really good this time.
It's so happy. Yeah. It's so happy.
Yeah, it's a little bit of wheel speed, and she's good.
God, man, you guys are geniuses. It works so good now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I can't believe it. I cannot believe that.
Everything comes off.
God, and in the cars. So that one was the first one that it felt like it was accelerating the whole time in every gear.
Yeah.
Like it was happy.
That should be good data to look at.
Yeah.
I just need to work on the shift deal.
Yeah, we could try running into the rev limiter the next one.
Did you lift on throttle to shift?
Yeah. I'm still not using the clutch. I'm still just lifting off the gas, pulling the next gear, wasting a lot of time. But that trans, the way the gears are cut, you can't just grab it and pull it out of gear. It will not come out of gear when you're wide open throttle. What you could do is tap the clutch. We could try that. Or we could run it into a rev limiter. And then running it into a rev limiter will unload the input shaft just enough, I think, to pull it into the next gear. Either way, we'll make it quicker.
Yeah, I think.
But right now, I'm like so stoked on that.
So I think let's try doing the rev limiter for second gear shift.
Yeah.
Because I think what's going to happen is, when I was talking to Matt, that when you make that shift, the clutch is going to slip again when you hit second. So it's not going to be violent like it was before.
Even though you're not touching the clutch.
Correct.
The RPM goes down so low, the clamp load goes down, and it slips a little. Yeah.
Correct.
Dude, it's so smooth.
Oh, it looks so good leaving that time.
Like, that felt efficient when it left the line.
There's a little, like right off the line, it rolls about 4 or 5 feet. You see a little bit of tire quiver, but dude, it's boogieing.
Dude, I'm stoked.
Nice.
Very, very happy. This place is open to the public. So we'll be going down there with other cars. Sun is going down. Things are getting serious. Thursday night testing tune. Joe's setting the air in the tires.
Yeah, buddy.
It's gonna go good. And I am now going to change my driving style. Instead of lifting off the throttle and grabbing the next gear, I'm gonna be putting pressure on the stick before it's time to shift and let it run into the rev limiter. And when it runs into the rev limiter, it should go for the next gear. We'll see. If it does, that ought to be a much quicker way of shifting this car. but that was a pretty good pass. It was great until the top of...
Oh, it's 60 foot?
Top of, well, it went quicker. It went 127 that time.
Oh, nice.
And I think the clutch was slipping at the top of 3rd and 4th. I put it in 4th and it just went, raw. I was like, okay. But launch was great. First gear felt amazing. Yeah. When you look at the data, I don't think I came off the gas to shift. Might have, I don't know. It happened really fast though. I don't think I did.
Yeah, it seemed really fast, but he said you did.
It sounded like you did, but I don't know.
Did I? Okay.
We'll see.
Shit. I don't know. It was all happening really quickly.
It looked really good.
It felt great, but like, I was in 4th way before the finish line, so I'm like, the clutch is slipping. There's no way I would have been in 4th.
It was a mile an hour.
It was down, it was 122, so it was down from, on the rev limiter in 3rd, I go through at 125, shifting into 4th, 122, which it should be slower, because I shifted. Yeah. But in 3rd, I think it was slipping. So we may need some more weight on our wheelie there, which hopefully doesn't make it wheelie. Yeah, because that's what happened last time. We put one little washer on every lever, and the car wheelie. So.
I mean, think about it. We put 6 grams total.
Yeah, 6 grams of weight on those levers.
1 gram on every finger.
Yeah, and the car wheelied, like moon tune. The great thing is now that we have a sensor on our transmission after the clutch, and we have the engine RPM, we know if those don't line up, the clutch is slipping.
So low gear it grabs, but it don't grab here. This 73 and it's nowhere near.
Okay.
So it's same here.
Did I come off?
Well, no, it grabbed in 4th, but not 3rd and 2nd.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's kind of grabbing late in 1st, like 7,000. So we just need to put more clutch on.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
He did say that when you short shift stuff, it'll slip worse because you're down here, and the higher the RPM goes, the more it clamps.
Right.
So did I make it worse? It would be cool if we overlaid this to the last one.
I can overlay it,
and
but
go,
I doubt it's going to be much.
Did I?
It shifted the same way, so.
Right.
So it grabs more here, but then slips more out here.
Maybe it just needs more weight on it.
Yeah.
For what I believe is our 5th pass of the day, and probably the last one because we got no headlights in the car right now and it's getting dark. I think it left harder, and then I was behind, so I was all over the rev limiter in 1st, which screwed up the 1-2 shift, and then it got squirrely in 2nd.
You were out. You were way over out of here.
Yeah, I think it left harder.
All right.
I was late, just behind the whole pass, and so I was all over the rev limiter in 1st, went for 2nd, and it kind of got a little squirrely, and then it was just a mess after that. Mostly, I think most of that was my fault.
I don't know if I can see you.
This is the face of sucking right here.
See the redness around there? That would be Finnegan's face.
Yeah, I got no headlights, so I can't see the return road. I didn't have a dome light, so I couldn't see the slip.
You have a dome light right over your head.
Yeah, it was a 131. I think the tires spun on the hit. 369, yeah. It wasn't.
I'm wondering.
03 light though, I finally went green. All right, we are 1 week away from the start of Hot Rod Drag Week, and I gotta be honest, the last few days I was a little worried. And today, when we had a push rod fall out of a rocker arm, I was a little worried. But Pete fixed that. Hasn't been an issue since then, and ever since we fixed the push rod, we just kept going faster, and we have gone a 127 60 foot, a 128 60 foot. The car just keeps getting better and better, and I think we're ready for drag week.
Yeah, you're definitely a lot better off than you were at 8 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, yeah. New clutch, slipper clutch. I'm a slipper clutch guy now. You know, it is a pain in the butt to crawl under there and pull the little bolts apart and put washers in and try not to drop the washers in there. Yes, but oh my God, does it make a difference when you do it. Like 6 little grams of weight changes everything. You know, you go from this to this. It's wild. So yeah, everything's good. I think we can go home and hook the trailer to it and put it in street mode and drive around, make sure that's good, and then head to drag week.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, unless you have homework for me.
No, I mean, I'd like to put that rod height sensor on there.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. I think I can make that up.
Yeah. Right. That's it, really.
Yeah. All right. So the next time you see this car, Tony Angelo and I will be taking our shot at winning the A-Gas class at the 2024 edition of Hot Rod Drag Week, which, by the way, is its 20th anniversary. And we're celebrating. We have a new Party Pulley t-shirt. If you guys can't make it to Drag Week on your own, you can join the Party Pulley Army by going to fsmgarage.com right now and getting yourself a shirt, and then hanging out in the comment section of the live feed and bugging Brian Loans and David Freiberger relentlessly over and over and over again, asking if I've run down the track yet. They love it when people do that. All right, thanks guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, real good at doing stuff, Pete Harrell, the guy who built the Hemi in this thing. Awesome YouTube channel. I learn something from it every time I watch, and also very funny.
Try to be.
A lot of humor in that. If he made me a theme song one day, I would use it.
It's gonna happen.
I would totally use it.
Gotta wait for the right.
Yeah, wait for me to really screw something up.
I can't try to do it. It's not gonna happen.
No. Wait for me to screw something up really bad and then make something appropriate as a result.
There we go.
And I will.
How do you make a theme song that's just chaos?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he just sits there and smashes the guitar in front of a microphone, and there's your theme song.
Very good.
That's pretty much how my stuff goes. All right, thanks guys. We'll see you later.